Hi again, this video is going to focus on Eva Smith / Daisy Renton from In Spectacles. So, starting off then, Eva is a biblical allusion to Eve, the first woman on Earth. Can Eve's actions at any point symbolically be linked to the figure of Eve? Yes, they can. If we think about Eve as stereotypically, traditionally in Christianity as the sinner, we can link that to Eva, how she is viewed by society for being a prostitute, for being working class. They would have all viewed her incredibly negatively due to the sexism and the elitism at the time. So, other ways we can see Eva as a biblical allusion to Eve. She is rebellious. She campaigns for fairer wages, hence why she is fired by Mr. Burling. And that links to Eve in the Garden of Eden. She rebels against God and eats the apple from the tree of knowledge. Consequently, she gets punished for that. She's expelled from Eden, just like how Eva Smith is expelled from Mr. Burling's workplace. She rebels against her role and patriarchal values. So Eva doesn't just want to sit there and be a housewife. She can't afford to just sit there and be a housewife like many of the working class women. But she also doesn't just, particularly with Mr. Burling, she doesn't just sit there and take it. She fights back. She is viewed as a temptress in that she is desired sexually by both Gerald and Eric. A feminist would look at this and go, well, that's misogynistic, her being a temptress. It's not her fault that they both sexually abused her. But if we're thinking about maybe how the society of 1912 would have viewed her, that's how they'd have seen her. She represents everyone. So Eve being the first woman on Earth, after Lilith, but we'll go with Eve being the first woman on Earth, and Eva being a biblical allusion to her, she represents all women. She represents how all women are mistreated by men, and how particularly all working class women, as we'll come to in a minute, are mistreated by the upper classes. She's punished for speaking out, acting in ways society believes she should not. She dies in the end. Mrs. Burling won't help her. She gets fired because of Eva. She gets fired because of Sheila. She gets fired because of Mr. Burling. Okay, before we go on to Smith, I thought I had a section on Smith. If I don't, I will come back to that later. So her other name is Daisy Renton. So, firstly, Daisy is quite a positive name. It's got links to spring, a religious idea of rebirth, which we can link to Eva in the sense that maybe she changed her name because she wanted a fresh start. White is innocence and purity. Yellow is radiance and quick wit. Maybe at this stage in her life she still has a little bit of innocence and purity left, particularly before she meets Gerald and Eric. But I think that's probably declining quite quickly after being fired from 2 jobs due to upper middle class people. Daisies has also got quite negative connotations. The idiom pushing up daisies is a metaphor for death, foreshadowing her death. And daisies are often trodden underfoot. People don't tend to skirt around them as they do with other flowers, linking again to her being working class and upper class society viewing her as inferior. And in terms of this, so if we think about Eva's surname being Smith, we can link it to it's an incredibly common working class English surname. So she symbolises the working class and how they are mistreated by the upper class. And a Marxist would look at this as power inequality between the upper and the working classes. And because Priestley was socialist leaning, he'd have been encouraging that equality between the classes. Equally, her other surname, Renton, it sounds quite similar to rent. This idea, it's hinting that she is a prostitute, she's being dehumanized by men, they just view her as an object to rent. So a feminist would criticize the treatment of Eva and of Daisy for that reason. Okay, does it matter if she was real or not? Sheila and Eric don't think it does. They are focused on the fact that they have done something wrong and it has impacted someone somewhere. Doesn't matter if it was the same person for both of them. Doesn't matter if it actually caused her to die or not. They're focused on their actions and that they caused someone else to suffer. The rest of the family, however, is not worried about the consequences of their actions. They are much more focused on what could the pushback of this be? What could happen to my reputation? So to them, it does matter if Eva was real, because if Eva's not real, they've technically not done anything wrong because no one is dead because of them.